Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to our post-Christmas, our last show of the season, our Monday night because New Year's Day is on Wednesday. Real fellas, we're getting ready to wrap up 2024 in sports, and boy, what a hell of a year it has been. But before we get into it, we have a lot to cover. I want to say hello to the fellas. I'll start with Mr. Indianapolis, Mr. David. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. My Colts are not, but I'm doing great. And it's almost New Year, and we better get a new coach, new GM, new quarterback.
40-some points against the Giants. Wow. They gave up 40-some points. Man.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
So all's well in Indianapolis, Mr. Burnett, except for that?
It's 40-some degrees right now. Hey, no snow.
No snow. We'll take it.
It couldn't be better.
Right. Mr. Larry Abels, one of my longtime friends from our neighborhood over in Michigan Park. Went to school together. We've known each other for, 55, 60 years. He used to come down in my part of the neighborhood and beat our brains out in football. Mr. Larry Abels, good evening, sir. How the heck are you doing?
I'm good, Chuck. We've known each other for decades. That's true.
Long time. It is a long time, my friend. Well, look, before we get into the bulk of the show relative to the games and so forth, I want to take a quick second to acknowledge the passing of Greg Gumbel, quite honestly. Greg was one classy gentleman who did a lot of sports on air, did the NCAA basketball show, did some NFL today, and he passed recently at 78. Bryant Gumbel's older brother, I think that is.
Yes, he's the older brother.
Just a world-class gentleman. And in that industry, that's a heck of a compliment. Mr. Burnett, any thoughts on you being the person from the industry? Any thoughts on Mr. Gumbel?
Greg Gumbel was the classic broadcaster. He could do any sport, and he never got in the way of the sport. He did it well. He did it articulately. He did it knowledgeably. Any sport. He worked on numerous networks for 50 years. He was a class act. If any of us who want to be broadcasters, those of us who've been broadcasters, he set a standard that we should all live up to.
Absolutely. Good words, and I absolutely agree with you, David. Mr. Abels, anything you'd like to add about Mr. Gumbel?
I agree with what David said, and I'll acknowledge he was the first Black given an opportunity to do play-by-play for a major sports championship. I think it was 2001 he did the Super Bowl. So, yeah. And when he had that opportunity, he did an excellent job by all accounts.
God rest Mr. Gumbel, and job well done, my friend. Job well done.
Amen.
All right, let's, on that note, it's tough to transition, but let's get into the games. And I want to start out with, my family gave me a Christmas gift, and I have it on now. Let's start out with the Washington Commanders and the Atlanta Falcon game. Man, what a game last night. Terrific. Overtime. Washington pulled that thing out 30-24. A lot of things in that game I just want to touch on, and I'm going to turn it over to you guys. First of all, we were down 17-7 at the half. Our offensive line did not look good at all, blocking or protecting Jaden. And then in the second half, they looked great. The offensive line looked better. Olamide was catching the heck out of the ball. I don't know where 17 was yesterday. And Jaden is just special, man. I He had over 127 yards rushing. He broke RG3's a rushing record for the Washington Football Club. Well, now I guess he's up to 840 yards, something in that neighborhood, rushing. And he's a rookie. I think he sealed the Rookie of the Year award, in my opinion, based on that performance. Whew, what a game. And now we're in the playoffs. Mr. Burnett, I know you spent 25 years in the DMV. What did you think of Mr. Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders yesterday?
The Commanders are a real team now. The biggest addition was subtraction. Dan Snyder is gone. The stadium actually looked pretty good on TV. You know, even though it's a piece of crap stadium, it is. It's trash. You know that. But the team led by Jaden Daniels, they have a chance to win some games. Now, are they going to go far in the playoffs? Well, the record says no, but anything can happen any given Sunday or Saturday or whenever you play the playoff games. This is great for the DMV. When I moved to Washington in the mid 80s, the Redskins, what they were known then, were the talk of the town.
Right.
I'm glad to see that the city, the area, the DMV has a team to root for finally once again.
Well said. I absolutely agree. Now, I know Mr. Abels has been tracking the Washington football clubs for a long time. So I know there has to be a sense of pride with you, Larry, in terms of the way they've gotten rid of the owner, as David mentioned. This new product, this new organization, you've got to be pretty proud of them. What did you think of that game last night?
The game was certainly entertaining, but it was too entertaining. Hey, Kung Fu, how you doing?
No, they don't need to bring.
They don't need to bring the name
no.
back.
Sorry, Kung Fu.
Yeah, get away from that. Washington, I'm happy they won. Hey, Mike McEady, that's a longtime friend of mine right there.
Oh, hey, Mike, how you doing? Thanks for joining us, man.
Hey, Mike.
Happy New Year.
Issue with the team. I'm a fan of this team, but objectively looking at them, I have some concerns. 13 penalties last night.
I know.
This game didn't have to be that close. And the week before, they had 5 turnovers.
And still
this season, I've always had the feeling, what I've been looking for, let me go back. I've been hoping for improvement. I want to see in every sports team improvement every year. So they look like a well-coached machine until the last couple of weeks. And they've been able to win a game despite 5 turnovers against the #1 defense in the league and had 13 penalties last night. I think if they cut down on 3 or 4 of those penalties, this game isn't close. So those are some things I would like to see them take care of in the next coming weeks. Yeah. Richard, how you doing?
Hey, Richard, thanks for joining. Hey, Larry, you make a good point, especially the 13 penalties, and I wanted to touch on that too. Do you think it's actually, here we go. Here I go with my referee conspiracy as I watch a lot of these football games. Do you think it's us causing the penalties or referees getting too involved as if we pay to see them referee?
They're committing penalties. As on the replays I saw maybe one bad call. They were committing penalties. Now, some penalties are good, and I'll go back to the previous game last week when they called a few penalties on Lattimore pass interference. I was glad he committed those penalties because
what's up,
Brown
Brown?
might have scored on those plays. So they were kind of timely. When you get beat, grab the guy. But some of the penalties, like jumping off sides, I mean, we did that right before they had the field goal, I guess on 3rd down. Yeah. I can't get by that. They got to tighten that up. Lauren, how you doing? Nice seeing you. And who did we see? Daryl?
Yes, we did.
Hey, Daryl, how are you?
Hey, Lauren, how you doing? Happy New Year. Those are good points, Larry. I guess I watched the Raiders play the Saints yesterday. The Raiders had 3 penalties called the whole game. 3. Were you telling me they were holding less than I don't know. It just seems to me that there's more calls, more things happen at the crucial parts of the game, and I just don't like it. What do you think, David? Am I making too much of this?
Look, just be happy. You are a Washington football team fan from way back. Be happy that they're winning because if, you're going to make mistakes, and particularly at the end of the season, games on the line, playoffs at stake, mistakes are made by inexperienced players who've never been there. They made it. That's
Right.
how I look at it.
Right.
They only averaged 7 penalties a game.
For the
I think
season.
going into this game, the most they had were 12 penalties,
Yeah.
13 last night. This is a trend that I want to see reversed.
I agree with you. The turnovers and that. What are you guys' thoughts? I mean, we'll get into the rookie of the year and that stuff later. I mean, do you think this team, now that they're in the playoffs, Larry, do you think they have a shot at? I mean, are they hot enough, on a roll enough that who knows what might happen?
I think they need to play. Of course, the talent that they're going to face is going to be
Right.
very good every week. And they did beat the number 1 defense with 5 turnovers, but I would like to see them play more error-free football. And that's what I need. I want them to correct that starting next week against the Cowboys, regardless of who plays and how much they play. I think if they play their best and they go back to being that well-coached team with few mental mistakes, I think they have a chance every week. I don't know how far they'll go, but I want them to have a chance. That's all I can ask for.
I know we spent a lot of time on this. The only thing I would also offer up, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this, or you guys' thoughts on this, is that Jaden, he's pretty smart at getting out of bounds, getting down and sliding, doesn't take as many hits. But late in that game, he took quite a few hits. David, does it concern you at the amount of times he runs the ball?
No, it doesn't. He appears to be very smart about how he conducts himself on the field in a run. Kind of reminds me of a few other quarterbacks who've been really, really smart, like Russell Wilson, who never got injured. He always knew how to escape, major punishment. And I think Jaden Daniels is on that trajectory. Now he's slight,
Yes.
but if you stand back and you play quarterback, things happen.
Right.
I wouldn't worry about it because that's part of what makes him special.
Right. I agree. Larry, because there was one time in that game, Larry, when that knee got bent all the way back on that one play, he jumped right up like it wasn't anything, and then he got hit late in the game by 31. And, that's Michael Vann. Thanks for joining us, man. Wow. Lifetime.
One of my high school mates.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Right. Larry,
I was concerned on the play that you're talking about. My preference would be that they only run them 3 or 4 times, planned runs.
Right.
I have. But he kind of last night kind of dictated what needed to happen late in the game. So he did what needed to be done.
Right.
I'm not as concerned because I thought they have slowed down, calling running plays for him. But little concerned with that play you're talking about.
No,
and that was just a pocket. That was a pocket play. So
look bad. I don't want to move to the next game without acknowledging Mr. Michael Penix, the quarterback. David, was at IU for a long time before he went out to Oregon, or was it Washington? Did he go? He went to Washington.
He went to Washington.
He was at IU though for years. And
4
Michael
years.
Penix looked good last night as well, David. And him and Jaden have come in together as rookies in this league, and I think there's some good young quarterbacks with Penix, and I think
Now Penix is 50 years old now.
No, both him and Jaden are the same age. Him and Jaden are both 24.
Well, they're old. They're older quarterbacks. Now Penix is not on the same level as Jaden, but given more time, he shows promise.
He does.
And Kirk Cousins, bye-bye. And there's nothing wrong with that. Kirk Cousins will land somewhere else where they need a veteran quarterback. He doesn't make a whole lot of mistakes, despite the record. He's the wealthiest quarterback in the history of the NFL. He'll be fine. But it's Michael Penix's team now.
I agree.
And it should be.
Larry, what you think of Mr. Penix's performance? Or
he did fairly well, but I thought he missed on about 3 or 4 passes.
Wow.
When his receivers are actually open, and he didn't have quite enough touch on the ball.
But
he looked like he was going to be good.
But on 4th down twice, he did what he had to do to get that touchdown.
He looks pretty good.
He knows what he's doing.
And I liked him in college, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, I did too. I tell you, Atlanta don't look so stupid. Everybody was getting on Atlanta's case for drafting him when they had also signed Cousins. They don't look so dumb now, do they?
No, not at all.
No, No, not at all. All right, enough of that game. It's just such a big game for the three of us. Big game meaning they're getting into the playoffs, in my opinion, ahead of schedule. So I know we spent a little more time on that than probably we should have. It leads me to the next game, which is the Vikings and the Packers. Man, another good game, in my opinion. I think the Vikings won that thing 27-25. Boy, what a division with the Lions, the Packers, the Vikings, the Bears.
Why you say the Bears? The Bears play in college.
Say, oh my.
Oh, my.
Lions and Tigers and Bears.
Oh,
Oh my.
You guys have really opened my eyes to the Vikings a couple of weeks ago. And the last couple of weeks, I've really been checking them out. And, man, they are a good team, well coached, great head coach. And Brian Flores handles the defense. David, what do you think of those Minnesota Vikings?
Sam Darnold. Once again, another quarterback kicked to the curb, given a resuscitation license. He has helped them, even though they drafted the kid from Michigan to play quarterback. Sam Darnold is there, and he should be re-signed and let the young rookie quarterback get healthy and get the job in about 3 years.
33 for 43 for 377 yards.
He's had a tremendous year.
He's had a
tremendous
great
year.
35. So, Larry, what do you think of the game yesterday with the Vikings and Packers? And I'll get back to you, David, about Jordan Love and the Packers in a second. What did you think of that game? What do you think of old Sam Darnold and what's going on in Minnesota?
Darnold's been playing well all season. Yeah. So, I mean, I've been following him. I don't even think the final score was close, but I really think Minnesota dominated that game. You know, Green Bay kind of made it look closer than it actually was, and they had a few untimely penalties too. Yeah. But no, I thought Minnesota played very well. They've been pretty steady all year, as their record indicates.
They have. They really, really have. What? So, Larry, hey, Robert. Oh,
hey, man, Robert, how you doing?
Us tonight, Mr. Woods. Thanks for checking us out. So, Larry, would you, if you're Minnesota, what would you do with Sam Darnold? His contract's up at the end of the year. What would you do if you were the general manager?
Franchise him.
Yeah.
That's $40 million this year. That's what the franchise tag costs. So I probably franchise him.
Yeah. David?
Keep him, franchise him, do whatever you need to do to keep him for the next 3-4 years.
Yeah.
Let the kid from Michigan grow in the system. There's nothing wrong with doing that. Ask Jordan Love. And he's right now, what's he making? $55 million? I know that bothers you to no end, Chuck.
Oh my God, it does. It does bother me. And I'll tell you, not only does it bother me, but it causes a problem. Because now, if you're Sam Darnold, you got to think, well, maybe I should be getting that kind of money too.
And he will. He'll get the $40 or $45 million, and they should keep him. He's perfect for that system, and they can wait for 3 or 4 years for the other guy to play.
Well, here's the thing, though, David. If they franchise him, that's only a 1-year deal, and every time you franchise him, the second and third time it goes up significantly. So unless if they're really sold on him, they might as well work out a long
get a 3-year deal. 3-year deal.
But they're going to end up paying him
like they did Cousins. I mean, like
Kirk Cousins is the king of that.
Like we did Cousins.
Well, you got to look at the going rate is between $55 and $60 million. So, I mean, that's what the rate is now.
Wow, how about that? Good evening from Austin and San Jose. Hey, is this
Austin,
Washington? Is this Larry Washington? I wonder.
Yeah, he is out there, right?
I know. If it is, hey, Larry, he's a big Golden State fan. Him and I fight all the time about Steph and LeBron. So, Darnold's 27, man. This is his 4th team, Sam Darnold. I think that coach has helped him out too. I think that coach is a heck of a coach. Oh yeah, that is Larry Washington. Happy holidays, Larry. Wow.
Hey, how you doing, Larry?
Yeah. Okay. And by the way, there's a big game between the Vikings and the Lions next week. That will decide who's the number one. I guess that'll decide who's the number one team in the NFC and who will have home court throughout the playoffs for the NFC. Who wins that game? Lions versus Vikings. David?
Lions. I not take nothing away from the Vikings.
Right.
Lions are, even though they've got a lot of injury problems, particularly on defense.
Yeah.
I think the Lions have set this up for the last couple of years. This has been their year. They win a critical game.
Yeah, I don't know where that game is. Do you, Larry? I don't know where that game
I don't
is.
know. I don't know where it is either.
Who do you think who wins that game, Larry?
Close game could go either way, but I look for Detroit to win it.
Right. Okay.
Wouldn't be shocked if Minnesota did, though.
14-2. What a record they've had so far. All right. So enough on that game. We'll move to the Kansas City Chiefs and the Mike Tomlin led Pittsburgh Steelers. Well, David, your guy Tomlin has lost 3 in a row. What do you think of that game?
First of all, let's keep perspective. Mike Tomlin ain't on the field. His playing days at William and Mary, I think is where he played football, are over 30 some years ago. Look, the Chiefs are better than the Steelers, period. They have the best player in the world at quarterback. They're going to beat the Steelers. The Steelers will limp into the playoffs. They've got some questions to answer, but the Chiefs were supposed to win that game regardless of where it's played. Even though Steelers, it's tough to win in Pittsburgh, but it's the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And so I don't see that as a major loss for the Steelers. They were supposed to lose.
Yeah. Yeah. Look like those Kansas City Chiefs are starting to round into shape, Larry.
Yeah, it does.
10-1. What you think of that game?
Yeah, they brought their A game, and I don't think Pittsburgh's a match for them when they're playing their A game.
Yeah.
And I have respect for Pittsburgh, but I think, when Kansas City plays the best they can play like they did on Christmas,
what can you say, right?
it's hard to beat them.
Oh, my God.
It's even hard to beat them when they don't play their best.
Obviously, that's what's been happening this year, too. And I don't even think Chris Jones, their D tackle, played in that game, and they didn't miss a beat. In fact, that's the best they've looked. They picked up that receiver, Hollywood Brown, and that's just added to their treasure of skilled players. So,
Can I say this about Hollywood Brown?
yes.
If his name was Joe Brown, we wouldn't be talking about his ass. He got a great nickname. By the way, Minnesota plays at Detroit.
Oh, they play at Detroit. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then, that makes sense. Maybe Detroit gives Detroit the edge. But I don't know. I think that I'm telling you, man, I don't know who's going to be coach of the year, but Kevin O'Connell.
I think he's got a good shot at being coach of the year.
He's got to get some
Absolutely.
He got to get some consideration. And David, I didn't mention this. Since you brought that back up, any concern with Jordan Love and his play and so forth?
No,
Okay.
no.
All right.
Jordan Love is the key to the Packers. The Packers will, I think they have a chance to win a game or two, but you can't count them out. You can't count them out.
Yeah.
But Jordan Love has played well this year, and Green Bay has played well. They just lost the Vikings, but check their record out too.
Don't know if
They're in
he's
the toughest division in football.
Don't know if he's played $55 million well, but hey, if that's fine, money is money. So
You'd have been better off if he'd have made $10 million, right?
Well, I'm just saying, $55 million is a lot of money for him. Anyway, Ravens versus the Texans. Boy, the Texans have really fallen off in 2024. I'll tell you, those Ravens are starting to round into shape too. David, any thoughts on that game?
Not really. Texans they're in a weak division. The Colts are in that division. The Titans are in that division. The pathetic Jaguars are in that division. Anybody could win that division.
Well, they did.
Ravens, they're supposed to be good. They are up and down team, but they got the player, Lamar Jackson, and Lamar is better than the Texans. Period. So
yeah, and they got a pretty good running back there too.
Yes,
Larry, what do you think of those Ravens? Are they starting to cut down on the mistakes, and Tucker starting to the defense is coming together? What do you think?
Just like the Chiefs, they brought their A game against a team that wasn't as good as them, and it showed. Like to see the Ravens be a little more consistent. They've looked good before, but I like the Ravens. It'd be interesting to see how they do going forward.
Right. Right. Chuck, stop pocket watching. I don't know what
Hey,
the
we've
pocket
been
watching.
trying to get them to understand that, Larry, the whole time.
Oh, you mean the money thing? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I do. Yeah, I'm big on that. All right, so let me say this. Hey, David, did you want to, Larry and or David, those are the games I wanted to talk about real quick. Is there any other game that you guys want to discuss at all, or anything about a game that you saw that you want to
Just say this. I'm disgusted with the home team here in Indianapolis. They
Indianapolis Colts?
suck. They can't tackle anybody. And Anthony Richardson, who I support him, but he should be playing in the Canadian Football League.
Wow.
He's brittle. I went to the game last week, not this past Sunday, obviously. And he played well, threw 9 or 10 passes, ran for 70 yards, and then suddenly his back is hurting. He walked off the field triumphantly from Lucas Oil Stadium 8 days ago, and now he's hurt again. Come on, you're 6'4", 6'5", 250 pounds, run like an eagle. Come on. Well, eagles don't run.
I was wondering about that, but I wasn't.
That's a bad transition.
Interesting metaphor you use there.
Misused metaphor.
Yeah.
But I'm sick of the Colts. Sick of them. I should just rip this shirt off, but my niece got this for me for Christmas. So
yes. Nice.
Thanks, niece.
It's funny, David, to hear you take your shots at the Colts because the Giant fans are taking shots at the Giants because they won the game and, of course, ruined their draft position. Larry, do you have any thoughts either on teams who are supposed to lose or the game between the Colts and the Giants?
Well, I wanted to tell you another game that I thought was good. I'll respond to that question.
Okay, no.
One game that I found very entertaining was the Bengals and the Broncos game.
Yeah.
And the playoff game was at stake. And I meant to send that out and said, perhaps we should discuss that. That was as entertaining as Washington and Atlanta's game. It went into overtime. Great plays made at the end of the game. A great catch in the end zone. I think on the last play of the regulation on 4th down. Great contest.
Burrows.
Hey, fellas, how are you?
Hey, fellas. Hey, Burrows. I mean, we said if his record was better, he might be in the MVP conversation.
That was a great game. As far as the Giants and losing, if I understand how the fans look at it, but the players, they got to go out there and try to win. I'm not going to beat up on any players, trying to lose a game. Yeah. I would consider that consumer fraud if they weren't trying.
Well, they're auditioning too. When they're on a team that's bad,
absolutely
who knows what might happen. So they got to play as hard as they can play.
And they haven't won a home game all season for their season ticket holders. So it's finally nice to get one and break their 10-game losing streak.
Right. All right. Anything else about the NFL before we move on? I know we spent a lot of time in the National Football League, but it's that time of year, right? We're wrapping up the season. Next week is the last game of the year. I'm sure a lot of the teams who've clinched will be resting some of their players. So I just wanted to spend a few minutes more on this subject than other ones. It's turned out to be a really exciting year. But before we go, MVP, David.
Lamar Jackson.
Wow, listen to David.
First of all, well, hold it before you clap. I don't just stick. I watch and see the progress. Lamar Jackson played tremendously the other day. Tremendous player, and that's what I was looking for from him, so that he could have a dramatic and effective game, and he did have that. And as you warned, Josh Allen slowed down a little bit. Right now, I give it to Lamar Jackson.
Wow.
And it's a quarterback award. Look, Saquon Barkley should have a shot. If this was 1980, Saquon Barkley would be the MVP.
Right.
Or Derrick Henry could be the MVP. It's not 1980, not 1990. It's 2024. I think that's what it is.
At least for 2 more days.
For 2 more, one more day.
One more day. Larry? MVP.
I understand why David said Josh Allen slowed down, but they really didn't need him much, and he kind of set out toward the end of the game. I still think he may win it. Because a lot of the stuff that we like about Jaden Daniels, he's kind of done that for as Lamar's done it too. So it's kind of hard. I don't like this award because I don't know why it has to go. I would, in my view, I would give it to the best player or the player who's played the best. I think Cincinnati's quarterback has played better than both of them, to tell you the truth, or at least as well as both of them. He's been passing the pass. He just has a team that just can't win.
Okay. So your pick, if you had a vote, would be Burrows, and David, your pick this week would be.
My pick will probably be Saquon.
Wow. Okay. All right. Mine, of course, is Lamar, and I've been saying that for a couple of weeks. But
Yes,
anyway, we'll see how that works out. How about this one? This is a tough one. I don't know if you guys. I sent this out. I don't know if you guys have done any thought or work on this, because this is a tough one. How about the defensive player of the year? I know.
I would probably
That's a hard
Myles
one.
Garrett. Myles Garrett. I think he's got like 14 sacks for the third straight year. First person to do that.
Right. For Cleveland.
I kind of agree with that. Myles Garrett is a dominating player. He's just on a bad team.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
So
All right.
if he has to be on a good team, then we'll have to pick somebody else.
All right. Well, okay. That's interesting that you guys said that, because I tell you, there is no, as I was doing some research on this, there's no real consensus in terms of who that will be. I've heard the name TJ Watt. I've heard the name Patrick Surtain, but that's a good one as well, Myles Garrett.
And those guys are good too.
Right. How about Rookie of the Year?
It's a no-brainer, and there's no debate. If there is a debate, throw the person who picked somebody else out of the voting.
Right.
Jaden Daniels, period.
Larry?
Yeah, I think Daniels is going to get it, and rightfully so.
Yeah, I think so too. But I want to give a shout out to Brock Bowers. He's had a heck of a year for the Raiders. He has 110 catches. He might be the best tight end in football right now. That's how good he's had a season.
He's on the wrong team.
And Bo Nix has played pretty well this year.
Yeah, he's had a good year as well. He's had a good year.
Colts intercepted Bo Nix 3 times.
Oh, did they? Last week?
Yes, they did.
Oh, yes.
It can happen to anybody.
It can happen to anybody, but that Jaden Daniels is the Rookie of the Year.
I agree. It's definitely Jaden. All right, your top 5 teams in NFL ranking. David?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
Kansas City has reassumed the number 1 position, followed by the Minnesota Vikings,
Yeah.
the Philadelphia Eagles,
Yeah.
the Buffalo Bills, and
Yeah.
the Detroit Lions, in that order.
Larry?
I have the same 5 teams, but not in that order.
Right.
So I have Kansas City first. I have Detroit second. I have Philadelphia third, Minnesota, then Buffalo.
Yeah. So I have 4 of those 5, and you guys know me. I had 4 of those 5. I do not have Buffalo in the top 5. I have Baltimore 5th, and I have Buffalo 6th. So we'll see what happens. All right. Enough of the National Football League. We spent a lot of time there. Let's before we switch over to college football, let's quickly. Oh, I know. I want to make one other point. And this is real quick. What y'all think of the Beyonce show at halftime of the Texans Ravens game? David?
I watched Beyonce, perform a Super Bowl quality halftime show. Cowboy Carter, I give her credit. It was well done and appropriately in Houston, her hometown.
Yeah.
Netflix, broadcasting it, 25 million people watching. Netflix. There you have it. That's where the NFL's going.
I thought they did a good job too, based on their production of the game, and her production was unbelievable. Larry?
That was great.
Larry?
I didn't see her halftime show because I turned away from that snoozer game. And I was watching the NBA who had 4 exciting games.
Of course you did. Okay, cool. That's a good lead in, by the way. We'll talk about the NBA and then we'll get back to college football. That's a good lead in. Who won Christmas Day, the NFL or the NBA?
Oh, stop.
Depending upon
NFL.
yeah, I mean, it depends on how you want to judge it. Football is definitely more popular than basketball. But if you look at the sporting aspect of it, every one of those, 4 out of those 5 NBA games went down to the wire. I think they were all about 2 or 3 point victories, just about every game, other than the last game. Football games were snoozers. So from a sports perspective, which maybe turn away from them, oh my goodness, NBA won. From sure, football is more popular though.
Right. David, same thought or
NFL. I was eating and then watching Beyonce a little bit, but I didn't really watch the NBA. The NBA has had the night that day for years, and to get 6 or 7 or 8 million viewers per game, that's pretty good. But the NFL is the NFL, the behemoth that it is, and you're not going to beat the NFL in anything. Of 100 shows, 94 of them are the top shows from the NFL. Period.
Right. All right.
Well, so it depends on what you're talking about. If you're a sports person that just likes good competitive sports, NBA was better. If football was just more popular. Those games were snoozers, man. Come on.
No, I mean, I don't disagree with your premise, Larry. I don't at all. The games itself, you're right, but it's the NFL, and the way it's weighed is who got the most viewers. NFL did.
Well, if that's the judgment, yeah, we knew who was going to win that one. Anytime the NFL is on.
But the NBA needs to rethink. I've seen some posts regarding and some articles regarding the NBA maybe starting its season in December, which might be a way to go.
I've been saying that too, David.
But if the NFL puts their games on Christmas Day in December, they're still going to outdraw them.
Well, they will outdraw, but we're talking about the overall viewing of the NBA. And there's just so much competition because the NBA starts in October.
Right.
And they get hammered. And
I'll tell you what I will admit to, Larry. I caught the end of the Laker Golden State game that night of Christmas night. And I only caught the last 3 or 4 minutes, which I think is all you have to really watch. And my God, Steph hit 2 threes in the last 10 seconds. It looks like the game's going to go to overtime. And of course, a guy from the Lakers made a layup and ended the game. Yeah. But LeBron and Steph both on Christmas Day, one had 37, the other had 31. And they were still balling, man, even at their age. I don't know what's going to happen to the NBA when they go away, but my God, that day they played really, really well.
You had the Knicks. The Knicks played the Spurs the early game, and I think that was a 3-point game, back and forth with Wemby. Great game. Then you had the Sixers and the Celtics, another great game. I think it was like 118, 114, right down the stretch. Then talk about the Lakers game. Dallas and Minnesota was a close game. All of them were close. Now, the NBA probably doesn't need to have 5 games on. Either they could have spaced it out a little bit. But they were all very compelling games. And
you know what? The NBA needs to maybe reduce that to 1 or 2 games and highlight those games and bring them to the level of the tournament, the in-season tournament that they had. And maybe that might draw a few more viewers. But keep in mind, the 4 or 5 or 6 million viewers that the NBA had is still 5 times as many as they normally get for a regular season game. Period.
And by the way, the NFL said, "Look, we're going to take it." I mean,
that's why they decided to broadcast.
The NFL said, "No, we're taking Christmas Day. Thank you very much," and that's really what they did. I mean,
exactly.
Yeah.
And they added Beyonce in the middle of that too. So in my household, we hosted 30 people for Christmas, and the TV, everybody in the house was riveted to seeing Beyonce's halftime show. Mm-hmm. So anyway, okay. again, speaking of the NBA, any observation about the NBA so far? I'll tell you what caught my attention. I'd love to get your thoughts. Do you know Boston has lost 9 games? They're 23-9. Meanwhile, Cleveland is like 27-4. What is going on in Boston?
Boston has the 3rd best record in the league out of 30
They got
teams.
9 losses, Larry.
Out of 30 teams, they have the 3rd best record in the league.
I get that. I'm saying that as a problem, not as a good thing.
It's not a problem.
Yeah, I don't see it being a problem at all.
It's not a problem. They're arguably the best team in the East still,
Really?
but the team we're not talking about, and we should be talking about, and better be in the finals, is OKC Thunder.
And they have the 2nd best record in the league.
They had 25-5.
Yeah.
Okay.
We don't talk if people don't talk about OKC, that's the problem with the NBA.
It's really nothing wrong with Boston. The thing that we need to give credit to is Cleveland, because they kept it going. This far in the season, everybody thought they were like a magic act, and they're still winning. They have the best record in basketball.
Right. Then it's not
Better
even
than
close.
both of those super teams.
All right. I just wanted to get y'all's thought. Nothing's wrong with Boston with 9 losses. Okay.
Nothing's wrong.
The other thing is, what's your thoughts on Mike Brown being fired, David?
Classless. They fired him in his car. I think he was headed to the team plane or something like that. Mike, don't show. You're gone. Mike Brown has been kicked around. He's a good coach. He will get another job. He's in the repeat cycle.
Right.
He'll be fine. Mike Brown he'll be somebody's assistant coach. He'll probably go back to Golden State as the lead assistant for the time being, and somebody will pick him back up. Period. I could see him finally coaching the Pacers within a year or so. I can see that.
Yeah, I saw somewhere where Carlisle might be on the hot seat in terms of the next person. But Larry, any thoughts about Mike Brown in that situation? Did that take you by surprise?
A little bit, but he sort of raised expectations there 2 years ago. They fell off a little bit last year, and they're in the midst of a 5-game losing streak. Fell off pace, and the West very competitive. I guess something had to change.
Right.
I didn't know why they necessarily needed to do it, but I can understand the rationale.
Right. Well, here's an example of the money thing I thought was good, because he signed an extension this summer for $25 million guaranteed. So bottom line is he still gets to keep his money. So good for
He'll
him.
be fine.
I'm glad that worked out for him. Anything else about the NBA? Any thoughts before we move on to college football? Oh, how about the D'Angelo Russell trade? Larry, will that help the Lakers? Will that help the Nets? Any thoughts on that trade? And I'll get your thoughts on that too, David.
That seems like a nothing trade to me. I think it has salary cap implications, and the guys that the Lakers got, they're decent players, but I don't see it being that significant.
Right.
On the court.
I guess Andrew's also taking credit for OKC. Wow. Okay. OKC, you guys kill me. I don't know anything about Finney Smith. Is he a player, Larry? Will he help?
He's a decent guy. He used to play for the Mavericks.
Right.
He's a decent guy. He's not a superstar.
Right.
He's a good role player. Give you some quality minutes.
Right.
That's why I said unless they were missing that type of guy that could play defense. He's not gonna. He's an okay player. I don't want to say badly, but I don't think he's not a superstar. What's going to make that much difference?
Don't ask me about LA. Just please ask me about LA.
Okay. I won't, David. I won't ask you anything about LA. We'll move on. We'll move on to college football. Okay. All right. About college football, I want to touch on only one game that played last week or last couple of days, and then I want to talk about the 4 that's coming up. The game I want to just mention was the Colorado Buffaloes versus Brigham Young. Now, both teams were fully loaded. None of those guys opted out. And BYU crushed Colorado. I mean, Colorado, I don't know. They didn't look coached to me. They didn't look good at all. Any thoughts on that game, David?
It's a bowl game. You know what I think of these bowl games? They're trash.
Mm.
No, it doesn't matter. You got Shador Sanders thinking about becoming a mega millionaire soon. You've got the Heisman Trophy winner getting ready to make millions. They got other thoughts. Dion and every damn commercial possible. Doesn't matter. I don't think it does anything to diminish the quality of play that they had this year. Colorado is relevant. That's all that matters. Colorado is relevant.
Larry, would you turn the keys over to your organization to Shador if you were the Raiders or the Giants or I don't know the Saints?
I think he's a good
Just given what you saw.
Say that again.
Just given what you saw.
Well, I'm not just basing it on this last game. I'm talking when I look at his complete body of work. I think he's a pro quarterback. I think he can play pretty well. They just played a team that was just superior to them on Saturday. That's all it was. But no, I have no problems with Shador. I think he'll probably go in the first round. I'll be surprised if he doesn't.
Yeah, well, yeah, we mean first round. They talk about he might be the first quarterback off the board. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how that all plays itself out. All right. Well, let's talk about the 4 games coming up. Now, there are big games coming up, right? So the question is, the first one is Texas versus Arizona State. And I think that's the Peach Bowl or something.
Peach
There's
Bowl.
4 big games coming up. Texas, Arizona State is the first one. David, who wins that game?
Texas. I don't believe in Texas, but Arizona State is new to the party. Peach Bowl is a serious game. Texas wins that game.
Larry?
Yeah, I think Arizona State is an overachiever. I think Texas will probably win, even though I hope Arizona State wins, but I think Texas will win.
Right. How about the next one, which is Ohio State? Excuse me, the Ohio State University and Oregon. Oregon. Who wins that game? CL players focused on this NFL. Huh? What does that mean? David,
Colorado players are focused on playing in the
on the NFL. Okay,
Yeah.
Instead of playing in that game. Okay. Good point, Larry. Very good point. That's what David was saying. Ohio State versus Oregon. David, who wins that game?
The Ohio State Buckeyes win that game. This is a traditional Pac-12 Big Ten game in the Rose Bowl. Oregon will be exposed. The Ohio State wins. A lot on the line for the coach. Players are going to be playing for him. The coach will be coaching for him. Keep in mind, the offensive coordinator for Ohio State, whatever his name is, I forget. He used to coach Oregon, and he took them to the championship game a number of years ago.
Chip
Kelly.
Yeah.
He has something to prove against the team he used to coach. Ohio State wins, and they might win easy.
Wow. Larry, I don't think Larry will agree with that, but Larry, what do you think?
No, I think Oregon's going to win. They've been the most consistent team all year. I see no reason for them to fall off, even though Ohio State played them very close the first time.
They did.
I don't know why. I guess who else? Oregon has beaten Boise. They've beaten when they've taken on big boys, they've showed up. So I expect them to show up.
They beat Penn State as well.
Yeah.
They are. Ohio State is a 2.5-point favorite in that game. If that means anything, a la Vegas.
It means more people are betting on them.
The Ohio State.
How about Penn State, Boise State? Now, I know where you come down on this, David. And by the way, before you answer, Penn State is an 11-point favorite in that game. Penn State, Boise
Bet
State.
heavy for Boise State. Ashton Genty is going to lead Boise State into a romp over Penn State. Or it could be the James Franklin Reclamation Bowl.
Well, we'll see if he can win a big one. Bless his heart. Larry, who wins that game?
I wouldn't be surprised if Boise wins that game. I think people are underestimating them. And they have a running back who feels like he has something to prove. We thought he should have been the Heisman Trophy winner.
Right.
He's played well against everybody they've played.
Including Oregon.
I don't know why this would be any different.
Right. Yeah. Should be a good game. And finally, Notre Dame versus Georgia. Who Who wins that game, David?
Uh,
Notre Dame and Georgia. And that's the
let me just say this. Georgia is missing their quarterback.
They are.
It matters. Notre Dame, historically, now, it's not the same players. It's not the same coach. Notre Dame tends to choke in these big games, but I'm taking Notre Dame, and Notre Dame in a squeaker against Georgia in the Sugar Bowl in New Orleans.
How about that? How about Larry? Who wins that game? And by the way, Notre Dame, Georgia is a 1-point favorite in that game.
I think Notre Dame has been the most consistent between those two teams. I think they'll win that game. I think Georgia's a good team. They're partially on their reputation. I think
Right.
Notre Dame, they'll win.
Yeah.
That's my upset. Well, they're favored, huh? Are they favored?
No, Georgia is favored by
Georgia's
1.
favored. Okay.
So that's right. You're picking Notre Dame to upset them. Even though
Yeah.
that's kind of a pick 'em. Well, that's good. Well, we'll see the next 2 days who does what, and should be pretty exciting. And we'll talk about the championship next week in terms of who will be in that. That brings me to, as we get close to wrapping this up, let's talk about, as we wrap up 2024, and good job so far, guys. You guys have been killing it today. And we've had a lot of responses today. So shout out to the audience for chiming in on a Monday. So David, what was your sports person of the year or sport event of the year in 2020?
It's not a contest.
You're Caitlin Clark, and you happen to reside in Cape
I live in
Clark,
Caitlin, Indiana. There's no question. She's the sports person of the year. She had the greatest influence on her sport, on perhaps any sport this year, period.
Well, I mean, it's hard to argue it, right? I mean, it's hard to argue that. I love her to death too, and she did have a big impact. And people are talking about women's sports, and what she's done to the WNBA has been pretty amazing. So it's hard to argue it. Larry, what was your sports person or event?
Well, I'll do the event since you picked the obvious person, and the event was the Olympics. I mean, that had to be the event of the year. Big. I don't see anything bigger than that.
Right.
And it was lots of drama there, as it normally is. U.S. performed well in a lot of aspects, but in some things like basketball, it seems like the world is catching up with them.
They are. They
But
play
it
that
was
sport all over.
compelling nonetheless, though.
Boys and girls. So, and we still won the gold. So Chuck Snowden's person of the year or athlete of the year was Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes just won his 3rd Super Bowl. He's been to 6 straight AFC finals. He's been to 4 Super Bowls. He's 29 years old. He's only been in the league 7 seasons. They're 15-1 this year. I'm sorry, man. What Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs have done over the last few years, including this year, is pretty freaking remarkable. And I just want to say it for me. I knew David was going to pick Caitlin. I wasn't sure what Larry was going to pick, but I thought I'd go with Patrick Mahomes. So there you go.
Okay.
Hey, Chuck, should he be considered for MVP?
No. That's
he's done a magical job.
It's unbelievable. They're 15-1. He's been incredible. He's been incredible. I just don't think we understand the numbers that Lamar put up, but that's neither here nor there. Okay, closing comments as we get ready to land this puppy. Let's see what 2024 closing comments are going to be. And I'll start with my good buddy, Mr. David Burnett.
All right, I'm going to venture away from sports for my closing comment. And my comment regards Jimmy Carter, the late, great Jimmy Carter, who died yesterday at the age of 100 years of age. He's the 39th president elected in 1976. He was the first president I ever voted for when they reduced the voting age to 18. He was a peanut farmer, governor of Georgia. His post-presidency should set an example for every human being. This was a good, decent, honorable man. We should all learn from his life and how to live it.
David, I think that was well said. In terms of tying that back into sports, him and his wife both showed up at a lot of Atlanta Braves games. He loved the Braves when he was a younger person, and he was a big Braves fan. Good comment.
Amen.
Larry, what's your last closing comments of 2024?
I don't know, but I'd like to touch on the controversy with the NIL and transfer portal. You know, that's something that seems to upset a lot of people, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. It seems okay when the coaches can move and take money, but when players do it, it seems a little somewhat hypocritical when I see coaches quitting. And I know it messes up the continuity when you're watching a team and you're getting used to certain players. I wish that they could all come to an agreement and come up with an equitable solution for everyone. And I'm not sure what that equitable solution is. And I'm not even sure the colleges really want it solved. Some coaches might want that, but it's benefited a lot of people with all these players moving. But I would like to ensure, what I would really want to see is that these guys that are going to college actually get an education.
Yeah.
And I have a serious question about it when they're switching schools every year, if they're actually learning anything.
Yeah, very good point, Larry. In fact, I saw today, in terms of your story, the head coach of Florida State basketball, can we call his name?
Leonard
Hamilton.
Leonard Hamilton.
Being sued by 3 former players who Leonard promised them monies, and they didn't get their money through NIL, and he's being sued by those 3.
Which raised the question to me, how involved is the coach passing out NIL money?
There's so much to that whole subject. And it's
that was so much of a rhetorical question, because I don't think it was designed for that to be the case.
Right. So my closing comment for the year is this. So as y'all know, all the 3 of us, we love sports, man. We love sports. And there were 2 guys in my lifetime who came into the pros with expectations that were off the chart. I mean, there was no way they could live up to those expectations. One's name is Eldridge Tiger Woods. The other's name was LeBron James. There was no way they could live up to all that hype. Well, today is their birthday. LeBron turned 40 today. Tiger turned 49. Not only did they live up to their expectations, they crushed it. I think Tiger has 15 majors. He's 3 behind Jack. He probably won't catch him. Well, not probably. He won't catch him. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. He won't catch him. LeBron, he broke the all-time leading scoring record in the history of the game. Even this year, he's averaging 14, 7, and 9 in terms of assists. It's just amazing, the 2 of them. And I admire both of them. I think they've been incredible athletes. And you know, I think LeBron has carried himself off the floor very, very well. So I just wanted to shout out and say happy birthday to Eldridge, Tiger Woods, and Mr. LeBron James. Well, that wraps up 2024, unless you guys have any last parting shots before we sign off.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everybody. Hey, by the way, we appreciate all of the responses today. My buddy out in San Jose, Larry Austin, for you to be responding. Him and I battle all the time between Steph and LeBron. It's good to hear from you, Larry. I'm glad that you joined us, and Happy New Year's to you, my friend, you and your family.
Just a reminder, we'll be back on Wednesday.
Yeah, I would say we'll return at our regular time next
Wednesday.
Next week on Wednesday.
Next Wednesday.
All right, gentlemen.
Good night. Happy New Year.